This Mavericks Live NBA Finals Special Edition is presented by Citi.
The Mavericks took their talents to South Beach and will take home the Larry O'Brien Trophy. After 31 long years, the Dallas Mavericks have captured their first NBA title. Dirk Nowitzki's first, of course, as they defeat the star-studded Miami Heat. 105-95 is the final from Game 6. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this very special edition of Mavs Live. Dana Larson along with Nancy Lieberman, Hall of Famer, and of course Mike Fisher of DallasBasketball.com. We will get you straight back to Miami for all the celebration in just a moment and throughout this entire show. But boy, congratulations, Dallas Mavericks. They did it. The Mavericks guys were a team of destiny, destined to overcome injury, adversity, destined to face their demons from 5 years ago in Miami, destined for the ultimate payback and to prove team is more important than individual stars. This is an unbelievable moment, isn't it, Nancy?
When you think of Dallas, you think of a city of champions. And I just love the fact that when you think of the Stars and the Cowboys, and now you put the Dallas Mavericks. I came here in 1980 when Donald Carter and Norm Sanju first took this experiment, if you will, of basketball here in the Metroplex, and then to see the passion that Mark Cuban has. This guy loves this game. He's put the best of the best in Donnie Nelson and Rick Carlisle, and then, you know, the Hall of Famer Dirk, first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, this is just great for the city, Fish. I mean, this is what we live for, to be around champions.
Yeah, you touch on it, and let me go one step further. This is not a night for the naysayers. This is not a night for the I told you so's. This is not a night to recognize the cynics. This is a night to recognize the
Greatness.
Mavericks
No,
fans
here's what I'm talking
for
about.
life. Yeah.
I'm talking about the people that were there when this team won 11 wins in a season, when this team got 13 wins in a season, when this team was an embryo to start things, as Nancy said, and in 2006 when this team had a 2 7/8 game lead in the NBA Finals and didn't get it done. There will be other nights for the naysayers. There will even be plenty of credit forever for Dirk and Jet and Tyson Chandler and Cuban and Mr. C and Donnie and Carlisle. But when they say this is our time, what they mean is this is your time.
Absolutely. This was it here tonight. And boy, that celebration was awfully fun to watch. Mr. C, Donald Carter up there on the podium. Mark Cuban, so gracious and humble in that moment. Rick Carlisle, as you know, funny as we have come to know him, great personality up there as well. And now he joins elite company as a man who has won an NBA title, not only as a player, but now as a coach as well. And certainly to see Dirk Nowitzki as he had to actually leave the court for a moment, we assume to gather himself under such great emotion and then get back out there and celebrate with his teammates. I just absolutely loved all of that. And while that was happening in Miami, a sellout crowd at the American Airlines Center here in Dallas, our Emily Jones was there.
Dana, thank you very much. The confetti has come down here at the American Airlines Center. I don't think I have ever heard this place so incredibly loud. Let's go get some fan reaction right now. What's your reaction?
Hey, shout out to all the Maverick fans. We worked for this for so long. Hey, Blue Star, you see it, world champions, baby.
How sweet was it doing it in Miami?
Oh my goodness, payback. 6 games in their house. They took it from us in 06. We got them back. Y'all is the #1 champions of the world, baby.
One more thing you have to say to the Mavericks.
Hey, Dirk Nowitzki, my dog, Jason Terry went legend. Hey, everybody, Tyson defense, incredible. Y'all did it, baby. Y'all #1.
Everyone going crazy here at the American Airlines Center. 15 to 20,000 people inside the AAC, at least 3 to 5,000 outside of the American Airlines Center. It's absolute pandemonium here. Like I said, the confetti came down as soon as the final buzzer sounded. No one has left this building. Everyone wanting to bask in the glow of the Dallas Mavericks' first ever World Championship. We'll have more from the AAC coming up right now. Dana, we'll send it back to you.
Emily, thank you very much. And boy, that is so cool to watch and to see. And no doubt the players can't wait to get back and be around those fans and be there themselves. We know there will be a parade. We can say that word now. We can say that there will be a parade. And if we find out throughout this show, we will certainly pass along that information to you. I know everyone will be so excited to welcome them back. And after watching the Miami Heat, of course, celebrate on their home court in 2006, and now they get to turn around and enjoy this celebration there. It's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing because you think about this as a player. I saw Jed Terry after the game the other night. He pulled me into the family room. He asked me to do an interview. I met his mom. He was so excited. He kept saying, Nancy, 48. 48, just 48 more. I said, Jet, pack one suit, just one suit. That's all you need. Tell that to your teammates. He was just exuding this confidence and this belief. So when you have the quiet superstar in Dirk Nowitzki, and then you have somebody like Jason who gives that energy, that effort, but can deliver on the stat line, and then you look at this team in totality, this is exciting basketball. The kids in the high schools and the college, they're saying, we can do stuff like this.
Well, and you see the humility from the top on down. Mark Cuban unwilling to give interviews during the playoffs. Rick Carlisle joking that he's now available for interviews. And so when the network wants to go to Cuban for a snappy comment, they still don't get one. As Cuban wants Mr. C to handle the trophy reception. I think this will be remembered between these two franchises as one that played for the love of the game and the other one that played for the love of the fame.
The love of the fame, and that is.
I don't know. That's tough.
Okay, let me.
No. You can't.
You
say
go and
that.
then I'll go back.
You know what? First of all, let's say congratulations to the Miami Heat. They overcame a lot of adversity this year with all the craziness, the free agent signings. 3 guys that have been planning on doing this since the Olympics, and they fulfilled their dream. Okay, it's free agency. They are allowed to do that in this land, in this America, and they opted out to do what they wanted. The fact that the Dallas Mavericks are really great guys, they have a great owner. Donnie Nelson is like the coolest president that I know as far as running a team, and you talked about humility. But the better team beat the better superstars. But you can't go beating down on Miami just because 3 guys wanted to play together.
My turn. Dirk's stated goal
Never your turn.
Dirk's stated goal is to win a title. LeBron James's stated goal is to be an international icon. I say congratulations to both because they both got their way. Now everybody knows Dirk's a champion, and now everybody in the world knows LeBron James and what he is.
They knew him before that. These guys were going to be multimillionaires.
Oh, they know him better now. They know LeBron better now.
No. They know you
go?
better now because you're on a post-game show during the NBA Finals.
Where did LeBron go?
He went to Miami. He was already an international icon.
I thought he took it. No, I mean in this series. I think he took it to the beach in about game 2.
He'll be fine. But
well,
tonight it's about the Dallas Mavericks. It's about the Mavericks
taking him
tonight.
Out of his game and certainly out of his confidence. And the love of fame is not Dirk Nowitzki at all. He, no doubt, deserves tons of credit for what he has done here and now has been named the Finals MVP. Add that to an unbelievable resume already. An NBA champion, a MVP back in 2007, all NBA first team 4 times, and a 10-time NBA All-Star. In fact, he is now only the 11th player in NBA history to have 10 All-Stars and an MVP and a Finals MVP. And Dirk Nowitzki, as we know, had a rough first half. Nancy was 1 of 12, but then got it going like he has done so often in the fourth quarter. He had 10 points in the fourth quarter. That was his average in the final frame throughout this entire series.
Well, Dirk Nowitzki is absolutely an amazing athlete and leader for this basketball team. The fact that he was quiet and subdued throughout his whole career never diminished the fact that he's a warrior, that he's a champion. Now he's got the ring to validate his Hall of Fame credentials. I really love the way he goes about his business. All you need to know is what his teammates think about him, what his owners think about him. He could have opted out in free agency. He very well could have done that. But he was loyal, he was comfortable, and it just shows you what the Maverick organization meant to him, for him to take a little less money and to stay here and win a championship.
Dirk and the Mavericks are one more thing. And we've discussed how Carlisle at the throttle and Jason Kidd with his hands on the steering wheel and Jason Terry as a second option and Dirk Nowitzki obviously as a first option, that this is a closing clutch, crunch time team. Here's the numbers. My man Michael Dugas from DallasBasketball.com came up with this. This team in the Dirk Nowitzki era has faced 20 games in the playoffs in which they could close out the other team. 20 times. They are 13 of 20 now. 2/3 of the time, they will beat you, even if it's on the road, which I think they've done 6 straight times. They win closeout games in huge games, and that's why I'm so glad that the network people noted this softness thing, which was always ridiculous now, is completely gone. This team wins closeout games on the road in the playoffs for a title.
Well, we have certainly watched this team evolve. We have watched Dirk Nowitzki evolve over his 13 years. And now they can celebrate an NBA championship. He's got a birthday coming up in just about a week, and that is going to be one of the best he has ever had. We're just getting started here on Mavs Live, the NBA Championship edition. We're heading back to Miami Live. We'll talk to Mark Followell and also hear from the players and Rick Carlisle coming up right after this.
Mavericks Live NBA Finals Special Edition is brought to you by Citi. What's your story? Citi can help you write it. Learn more at storycity.com.
It is time to celebrate, Mavericks fans. It's official. Game 6 is in the books. The series is over, and the NBA championship belongs to your Dallas Mavericks. 105-95 is the final. That was the scene at the sold-out American Airlines Center tonight in downtown Dallas as fans from all over the place gathered to witness history together. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Dana Larson, Nancy Lieberman, Mike Fisher here with you, wrapping up this victory, this season, and talking about an NBA championship coming to Big D. And we certainly have talked about Dirk Nowitzki and will do so throughout this show. 21 points tonight for Dirk. Jason Terry's night was unbelievable. Straight out of the gates, he was on fire, Nancy. He had 19 in the first half alone on 8 of 10 shooting and finished with 27.
Well, I look at what Jason Terry did. He backed up everything he said, and yeah, he likes to talk and communicate, but he can back it up, and that takes so much pressure off of the other guys when you have that person that can follow through on what he says, doing it in the balance of the game, and then you add that with J.J. Barea, which I think what Rick Carlisle did by making that change in the starting lineup and putting JJ in, got them more athletic, more energy. And when you look at Jet's numbers and you put it together with JJ, those guys had 42 points tonight. So even when Dirk was 1 for 12 and he was struggling to get his rhythm a little bit, he had somebody who was picking him up. And it's like Mike and you and everybody else has been saying, that is why we are a team, and that's why the Mavericks, they win together, they lose together, and they're there to back each other up.
You know what I love, Fisher? We look at those numbers. I mean, Jet's flight pattern, a little all over the place in this one, right? He was making air traffic control nervous, and Rick Carlisle maybe a little bit too throughout this series. But when they needed him most in this game in Miami, he's talked how he has thought about it every single night, losing that series to Miami back in 2006. There he was with a huge game, really. In fact, as close as Miami was keeping this in the first half, it was all thanks to him that this was a Mavs victory here.
You know, Jet has always been a soundbite guy, but down underneath that, this offseason, he truly rededicated himself at a different level and did so with not only workouts and in the weight room, but with mentoring others. Now, the tattoo on the bicep, which is not that big a deal, Nancy and I both have the same
well,
thing.
No, I have a bicep, okay? I have one. Go ahead.
That's fine. But I talked to him early in the season at training camp, and he was saying CTC, and he was saying it so often to a bunch of kids that I thought, well, there's some T-shirts in that. And it means CTC meant cut the check. I mean, we're going to do the work and then make them cut the check. Well, tonight and this season, Jason Terry did the work. Now somebody's going to have to cut him a check.
And that's what I love about him. He's so brave. He talks and then he backs it up. He puts a tattoo of the championship trophy on his arm before the season ever starts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. What are you going to do if you don't win it? Well, he's saying, you know what? That was not an option.
Yeah, and Nancy will be able to speak to this as a world-class athlete. But what we'll want to find out from Jason Terry psychologically someday, did he talk like that in this series because it allowed him to put a chip on his shoulder, an obstacle in front of himself that he could jump over? That's what Emmitt Smith used to do. Or did he poke the bear and was unafraid to poke the bear in this series because he thinks he's a bigger, badder bear? Because he thinks his Dallas Mavericks team is a collection of bigger, badder bears.
You know what? I agree with you. I know that's kind of
on both?
Crazy. Not on both. But I agree when somebody like Jason Terry, sometimes there's a feel like a guy cuts across the lane and you kind of give him a shot, and the next time he doesn't come the same route, he goes away, and you go, wow, he's really not fighting back. So you get you get a sense of who you're dealing with. I think after a few games, Jason got a sense of, you know what, LeBron is really struggling here with some emotion or some mental or maybe the pressure. And he's a veteran at 33 years old, and I think he took advantage of him.
So I'm going to ratchet up that pressure a little bit.
Absolutely.
And then there were some strategical things, too. Clearly, the Mavericks made an adjustment after Game 2 when LeBron covered Jet, which the Mavericks did not expect to happen. And Jason Terry survived that. And then back to J.J. Barea again. Whether it was pick and rolls or just beating people off the dribble, J.J. Barea was astounding. And Spoelstra said before the series, we're going to treat him like he's a star two guard. Well, they should have treated him like he's a superstar two guard because they never found a way to defend the pick and roll or just to stay in front of Barea, Nancy, as a ball handler, a dribble and a driver, finisher, or kicker.
Yeah, but you can't stay in front of him. You have to send him to areas of the floor because, first of all, he's so low to the ground and he's powerful, and you can't stop him with just an arm or a forearm or redirecting him with your hand. And he does stuff like this. He's able to play to his strength. See how quick he is spinning off of you. Chalmers is like, man, I was right there, but he gets underneath you. He attacks you. You're on your heels. He is different than everybody else on this team, and he is a very difficult guard because he's got the outside shot. He's got the tenacity. He just ain't afraid of you. I hate to break the news to you. And you need to have somebody like that, and he gives you that change of pace, and he also dogs you on defense.
You know, Donnie Nelson, I was talking to him the other day, the Mavericks general manager, and he said when Caron Butler went down, because we expected Caron Butler to be the Robin to Dirk's Batman, and he said when Caron goes down, we need 7 Robins. They got 7 Robins and 1 Batman.
All right, let's get you right to the podium now, live in Miami. There's the MVP.
Dirk, you can be honest with us now. Is this any sweeter because you got it done in Miami?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, obviously that was one of my most disappointing losses in my career to lose that final series after being up 2-0, and it took so long just to get here. I don't really know if it would have made a difference. Just this feeling to be on the best team of the world is just indescribable.
And Jet's the one guy who's been with you the whole time since then. How do you feel about the way he lifted you guys, especially when you were struggling in the first half?
I mean, was he unbelievable tonight or what? I mean, coming out right away in the first half and setting a tone. I think he watched me struggle there early, and he took it upon himself to really attack and look for his shot early and get going early. And man, he kept coming all night long, and he was phenomenal. And actually, that one timeout, he said to me, "Keep pushing. Remember 06." He said that to me in the fourth quarter, and we kept plugging, and it wasn't pretty for me, but I had to keep plugging and keep fighting.
Right here in the front.
Dirk, you know that the greatest players are defined by championships. Do you feel like that monkey's finally off your back?
Yeah, I don't really think that way right now. It's just, if you're in this league for 13 years and just battling and playoffs the last basically 10 years, 11 years, and always come up a little short, and that's why this is extra special. You know, if I would have won one early in my career, maybe I would have never put all the work and the time in that I have over the last 13 years. So this feels amazing. I'm happy for Kid. What a warrior he is with 38, chasing the most athletic players in this league out there and doing a great job on him, and also leading our squad. So and he's been in this league for forever and had 2 chances. So just an unbelievable team, I said it all season long. We had great chemistry with the guys. We had fun in the locker room, on the buses and stuff. So this is a special group, and we're world champions. So it sounds unbelievable.
The soft and the clutch label were more so on the other side in this series. Normally it's attached to your team, and with the focus on you as a superstar, how does it feel hearing those words right now, knowing it hasn't been brought up since the Thunder series?
Well, I just think we're a resilient bunch, and we saw it. This whole series, we were down some. We kept battling back, kept believing in each other, and I just think this is a win of team basketball. This is a win for playing as a team on both ends of the floor, of sharing the ball, of passing the ball, and we've been doing that all season long, and I'm happy, and we never looked at ourselves as soft, not for 1 minute, and we just kept fighting.
John.
Dirk, how important was bringing Rick in to get you guys to this point, and what things has he done to help you get here?
Well, I think he's an experienced coach, and he pushed all the right buttons, and it took us a while to find a good mix. I think I mentioned that yesterday. Of still keeping our defensive principles that Avery installed, and also giving Kidd a little more freedom on the offensive end, letting him run the show a little bit, let him create and let him call some plays on the fly and push the pace up a little bit. So I think that he did a great job doing that, and during the course of the season we had to adjust to some stuff. I thought in the finals he did some phenomenal adjustments here to start JJ, then decided to let Pager really sit for the series, bring Cardinal in, who's been phenomenal for us this series, and he, constant pro, always stayed ready for us. So, man, it's unbelievable team effort, and the coaches and the whole organization, and I give Mark a lot of credit. Cuban, I mean, he's stuck with me through thick and thin. He brought all the right players always in, always try to spend money and make this organization better. And this team better, so Mark's the best.
Mark?
Dirk, Charles Barkley always talks about that list that he's on, that Stockton, that Malone, that Patrick Ewing are all on, and you were on there with him. To be off that list, just tell me what that's like.
Man, this is what I obviously played for the last couple of years. I think when you come in this league, you want to establish yourself, and all-star games and all these little things are nice, and scoring, but when you get you to a certain age, you've basically seen it all, and all you play for is for that ring, and I think that's the kind of energy we had from the beginning of the season this year, bringing Tyson in, who was unbelievable for us defensively again. It's just it feels amazing now to know that nobody can ever take this away from us again. And for 1 year, we're the best team that was out there. That feels amazing.
Larry, back left.
Dirk, when do you feel like your team broke Miami down? Was it in Game 2 with the great comeback, or was it the way you got them in Dallas?
Well, I think in a lot of games we kept fighting back, and all the wins we got in the fourth quarter, at some point we were down besides the day, and we kept plugging. Even in Game 5, we were up like 7 or 8. They made a huge run, and they go up by a couple points, and we had to battle back again and fight through it. So I don't really know where it happened, but we were just a resilient veteran team that always kept coming. We never stopped playing. And we kept believing in each other, and that's phenomenal. We talked about it in several timeouts. How even when we're down, we got to keep executing, keep playing, and you never know what's going to happen. And some of these wins were able to come back. That was big.
Can you talk about your leadership, stepping up and calling out teammates to deliver when they weren't?
Well, I think at the beginning I had some problems with the leadership role in talking and. But over the last couple of years, I think I've been more comfortable. Obviously, my English is a lot better than it was when I first got here. So it's just being more experienced, more comfortable, talking to the guys, talking to the fellas, and the experience of seeing something on the court that you want to address. And I just think it all came together for me with hard work. and experience. So it was, it still feels unbelievable.
Steve on the right, David in the back left, last two.
Dirk, I'm wondering, can you talk about your shooting tonight? What was going on? How much of that was you? How much of that was them? And in a game that you guys were treating as a Game 7, what was that like to be going through that?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, in the first half, I had so many good looks. I can't even explain it. I had some threes top of the key, had a wide open three in the corner, had some pull-ups, had some one-leg fadeaways that I normally make. But like I said, the team always told me, stay with it. You're too good of a shooter and too good of a player to keep missing. So finally there in the third, I made a three. And there in the fourth, I was able to make a couple pull-ups. So, yeah, but like I said, this team, every time somebody was down all season long, somebody else stepped in and picked them up. Mahinmi was unbelievable today since Haywood went out a couple of games ago, and he gives us energy and all of a sudden makes some big shots today even. So I think, all season long, if somebody was down, the team picked him up, so it was an amazing effort.
David, last question, back left.
Dirk, do you feel that this is more meaningful given that you've chosen to stay in Dallas and you went from the failures and disappointments there to this point? And also, people talk about looking at you differently having won a title. Will you look at yourself and your career differently having won this title?
I don't know. I mean, that's something I look back to, and I can always look back to the 10-11 season and say we're the world champs. So nobody can ever take that away from me. So that's really the best thing about this. And sticking in Dallas, I mean, that was the plan. You know, where we fell short so many times, and I committed for 4 more years this summer, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. You know, we were first round, second round exit a bunch of times. But you know, consistency pays off. Like I said, Mark kept bringing in players. Losing Karan this year was an unbelievable blow, but we kept playing, kept fighting through, kept bringing Peja in. It was a big addition for us in earlier rounds of the playoffs. So it wouldn't have even felt right to win it somewhere else. So I'm happy. Obviously made the right decision, and this is also for the Mavs fans who've been through a lot of disappointments with me over the last couple of years, and they always stuck with me and kept supporting us. And the gym was always full in Dallas during the regular season, and this is for them. Thanks, guys.
Dirk Nowitzki has spent his entire career with the Dallas Mavericks. Certainly a legend here in Dallas sports figures, of course. And as you can see, he's trying to soak it up, trying to grasp the reality of being a world champion. In fact, he's so happy, Nancy, he doesn't care what his hat looks like, right?
Okay, I'm going to have to say this. I need a single on this. Just kidding. You know, Jet, where are you? I mean, he's the MVP of the finals, and his hat doesn't look MVP-like. You gotta fold it up and look cool and. Okay, so I had to at least talk about that. The other thing I know right now in the locker room from talking to the coaches earlier in the day and you know, kind of texting with them, everything was about this being a complete team. They wanted to show that a complete team could win. They certainly did that. Now, the announcers, they were busting on Rick Carlisle in the game, talking about how Carlisle sat Dirk at the end. I think it was 4 minutes at the end of the third quarter. Why are you doing this? You have to be able to put him in and play. You know what? Dirk had more juice in his tank in the fourth quarter in those final 10 minutes than LeBron, than Wade or Bosh put together. I think it was you got to know your guys, and certainly Rick knows his guy.
I think Carlisle is almost now beyond question in terms of button pushing, whether it was Perea or the custodian for Peja or all these other little moves, some big, some small, and virtually every single one worked. Not just, by the way, in this postseason, but for the course of the 3 seasons in helping to build this franchise and build this team to this point to where it is now in the archives along with other great champions of this city and of this region.
Rick Carlisle leading the Mavericks in his 3rd season to a 57-win regular season and an NBA title. Still much more to talk about here. We'll, of course, get you back to the podium live. More reaction is coming in. In fact, Rick Renner just spoke with one of the architects of this championship team, Donnie Nelson. We'll have that interview for you and much more coming up right after this. Yahoo! This was the scene not long ago as Donald Carter, the founder of the Mavericks and the first owner of the Dallas Mavericks, hoisting that trophy up to Mark Cuban and the finals MVP Dirk Nowitzki back there as well. And no doubt, not far away, is Donnie Nelson, as big a part of putting this team together as anyone else. And he is standing by with our Rick Renner.
We're here with Donnie Nelson, one of the many who are the architects of putting this baby together. What's this night mean to you?
Rick, I'm just numb right now. I mean, for what we've been through in 2006 and then to come back to the scene of the crime and make things right, it's emotional.
The big German Dirk Nowitzki didn't even know what to do. He ran into the locker room. He was just, didn't have any idea what you're supposed to do when you celebrate.
That's a German for you. He's hard-headed, you know. He thought he could just grab his trophy and, you know, go back to the hotel room. But no, it's really a storybook situation. I mean, for what we went through and Dirk and all the guys, and man, it's just you can't really put it into words.
You know, you talked about it recently where you talked about this team being a team of cast-offs. You know, J.J. Barea too short, Jay Kidd too old, some of the guys that were throw-ins and trades, Deshaun Stevenson. Can you believe this is the team that got you the title?
The reason I believe it is all year long these guys have just come together. Our chemistry has never been as good as it is this year. We just, you know, came together and started playing well at the right time. You know, the Portland series was kind of, you know, tough for us. We gutted that one out. Then Oklahoma City, that's just a firestorm there. And then to come in and, I mean, you can't script it better than this, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, here it is, you know, 5 years ago, you're down 2-0. They're playing in parades, Shaq and Wade. They're able to win this thing on your floor. How sweet to win it on their floor.
Well, we'd love to win it in front of our own home fans, but I tell you, just the way that we've been playing this year, it's apropos that we went on the road because we're such a good road team, and we don't get rattled. I mean, for the guys that you rattled off, named off, this is a group that really embraces the last 6 minutes of a game.
What did you think about the turnout of all the Mavericks fans? I mean, a little dangerous for these guys, the sea of blue in the stadium when it's so much white.
I tell you, imagination is unbelievable. I mean, we don't get here without them. And I mean, I don't know how many there are, but I tell you what, the arena seems like it's a quarter full with our fans, and that really helped us tonight.
Congratulations. Go celebrate with the guys.
Thanks, Rick.
The great Donnie Nelson. Now back to you guys.
Congratulations to Donnie Nelson. We want to go right back to Miami now live. Rick Renner is standing by with J.J. Barea.
Dana, we got J.J. Barea and his high school coach, Art Alvarez from Miami Christian, celebrating with all his homies, all his old high school mates, doing it in Miami. What's this like for you?
Oh, it's special, man. It's special. Great place to do it in. And I spent a great year, one of the most important years of my life here to start it all off, my basketball career. So, hey, great place to win a championship in.
I think it's really interesting. The Mavericks are 3-0 with you in the starting lineup in the NBA Finals. They just needed to start you a long time ago, right?
I think they picked a good timing, though. I think Coach did a great job all season to timing it up and put me in great situations all year long, so he proved it again.
Now, when you came up from Puerto Rico, you lived with this guy, and he got that basketball career started. You won a state title at Miami Christian, a little 1A school, and then got, recruited to go to Northeastern and did unbelievable things there. Mark Cuban was the guy that believed in you. What did Art and this whole process mean to you down here in Miami?
Art opened the doors for me. He opened the doors. He gave me a great opportunity that I needed to keep my basketball career going, and I came over here and I spent one of the best years of my life. We played 40 games, we won 38. It was amazing, and it got me a scholarship to a college. And since then, he's been my biggest fan. So it's just awesome.
Art, you got to tell that story when you first saw him get off the plane from Puerto Rico, and you wanted to know if he could play basketball, so you had him shoot shots on your cul-de-sac. Tell me about it.
I tell you what, he didn't look like much, but why did he play the first game? Like I told you, 38 points, 21 assists. I said, oh, wow, we got something special. But you know what, Rick? To this date, 10 years ago, he won his first state championship at Miami Christian, and now he comes back to Miami and he wins the NBA crown. How sweet that is. Incredible. I'm real proud of him. Love him to death. There's nothing I would not do for J.J. Barea. Love him to death.
Now, he was a guy that actually slammed on Amari Stoudemire in the playoffs.
Well,
we've heard the story from him. Is that true?
Well, he didn't slam. He got up there. He hung on to the rim.
I got the rim, but I didn't get it. Well, he fouled me. He fouled me.
I think what he did do, he had 32. He had 32 against Amari, though. Had 32 against Amari. But that was special. It's a very special night. I know the mom and dad, the brothers, everybody's here, and everybody got real emotional after the game because this is a kid that, you know, this is his goals as coming out of Puerto Rico. And the fact that he came here and he got it done, and the fact that he has all the family, all the friends here is real, real special. J.J. Barea got it done for the Dallas Mavericks.
You know, you've always been a good guy to root for, great guy to deal with in the media. You know, what does all this mean to you? Because I remember when Dirk first saw you, he thought, man, that guy's too short to play in the NBA.
Oh, it means a lot, man. I just took with it. I'm lucky. I'm been put in good situations. I've been work for it. I worked my 2 years my first 2 years in Dallas. I worked hard for where I'm at right now. Coach believes in me. I got the greatest teammates that believe in me, give me the ball, and to do what I do, and it just worked out this year.
Go celebrate with all your high school teammates, man. Great to see you, JJ. Thank you.
Thank you,
the
buddy.
great Art
Appreciate it.
Alvarez.
Thank you so much.
Great
Appreciate
job.
it.
You need to work on my shot.
There you go. There you go. But you don't look anything like Richie Cunningham, though.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And with
Thank
that,
you, Rick.
I'll kick
Thank
it back to the studios and you, Dana.
Oh, guys, thank you very much. That was terrific. What a journey for J.J. Barea. Love it. Congratulations to him. And back now to the American Airlines Arena. Rick Carlisle live.
I'm so happy for the Mavericks organization, which is such a class organization, as are the Miami Heat. A few minutes after the game, Pat Riley came down to congratulate us, and he just showed unbelievable class. So we appreciate that. I know Mr. Harrison a little bit. He's one of the great people, and so we hold them in high regard. They were a terrific team, and their time will come, but now it's our time. And I also want to say hi to Donna and Abby at home. Hey guys, see you tomorrow. But this is a special team. This is the most special team that I've ever been around because it's not about what you can't do. It's about what you can do. It's not about what your potential shortcomings are. It's what we could accomplish as a group together. And it was just phenomenal to be around them. And I in my third year, I've learned so much from these guys, especially Jason Kidd. His view of the game is so different, and he's savant-like, and it's just been a thrill and a privilege to spend time with him. I don't think there's any doubt after this series that Dirk has certainly earned the cloud of being one of the all-time great players. I mean, his versatility, how he's done it in the clutch. I mean, he goes 1 for 12 in the first half, and in the second half, he was just absolute money. And so I'm really thrilled for him. And a couple of people I want to thank that are behind-the-scenes guys. I want to thank Coach Tim Gergerich, who came on board with us this year kind of on a part-time basis, and he made a big difference for us. And I want to thank Don Kalkstein, who's our Director of Sports Psych, who has been a phenomenal resource, not only for me, but for our players.
First question on the left side.
Coach, you guys overcame so much this year, even in the series, overcoming 15-point deficit. When you look back on all the adversity you guys overcame during this season, during the playoffs, during this series, what's the one thing you're most proud of?
The collective toughness of the group. You know, it's a team that when you view it from afar, it doesn't look like a physically bruising type team, and so a lot of people don't think we have the grit and the guts and the mental toughness, but this is as mentally tough a team as I've ever been around. And I had fortunate to play in the 80s with some great Boston teams, and those guys were mentally tough, but they were, there's 4 Hall of Famers on those teams. What these guys were able to do collectively, guys like, Cardinal, Mahimi, Barea. I mean, these guys played major roles in an elimination game in a championship series. I mean, you can't dismiss how everybody stayed ready, and how everybody answered the bell. So I was just really proud to be around this group.
Tony in the second row.
Rick, congratulations, first of all. From the standpoint of the end justifying the means, the fact that JJ and Jason struggled so much in the first couple of games, and you find yourself down, I guess, 9 in Game 4 with 10 minutes to go. Just talk about the rallying point of this team, and also Dirk, I guess, 1 for 12 in this first half. What was the mood, you guys being up in spite of that?
We have a saying, Mavericks basketball is 48 minutes. You know, it's not 36, it's not 40, it's 48. And over the course of 48 minutes, you know, we're going to find a way to stay in a game. We're going to find a way to win a game. This team has more resourcefulness and grit and guts than any team I've ever been around. And, you know, Game 2 was probably the key to the series. Because you go down 0-2, it's very difficult. So, you know, coming back from that deficit, coming back in Game 4 at Oklahoma City, I mean, those are key games, because the Oklahoma City game keeps you from going 6 or 7 games, which is really key. So, and again, it starts with your best players. Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, who was phenomenal tonight. I mean, absolutely 11 for 16 from the floor, 27 points. I mean, this guy is willing to come off the bench. I mean, I just can't tell you as a coach what it means to have guys that are that committed to winning that they will make those kinds of sacrifices.
Tim on the left side.
Rick, you said the other day that you needed a certain kind of crazy guy at this time of year. How much did Jet's questionable sanity or his fearlessness have an impact on this series and especially this game?
We have a lot of guys with questionable sanity. I mean, it's not just him. And, you know, it's interesting. I mean, a series like this gets very personal. You know, it gets personal because, you know, we have guys that say things and they do it to get themselves going. You know, and then they have the incident, you know, with the camera and the coughing and all that stuff. And, you know, it's just, you get to Game 5, Game 6, and it becomes personal. And our guys took it personally tonight. They were not going to be denied. Dirk and Jet have had to live for 5 years with what happened in 2006, and as of tonight, those demons are officially destroyed. You know, they have made a statement that's a colossal statement, you know, not just about our team, but just about the game in general. And, you know, playing it a certain way, trusting the pass, playing collectively, believing in each other. Our team's not about individual ability. It's about collective will, collective grit, collective guts. And, you know, we're skilled and talented too. But our game's on the ground. And the guys we were playing, you know, their game was in the air. And fortunately, as the series went on, we stayed on the ground enough to be able to win it.
Rick Carlisle has a very talented, deep team. He trusted them, Nancy, and they trusted him.
Well, I want to go and revisit. You know, I thought Mike made a great comment about this team and how they were ready to play for Rick Carlisle. But let me tell you what, when you put enough deposit in your players through the course of an 82-game regular season, Dwayne Casey, Terry Stotts, everybody on that staff, always being positive with your attitude and your belief and letting you feel that your contributions are valued. It might not happen for 2 or 3 games. It could happen a week or 2 later, but you are ready for your moment. And we saw that. He alluded to Brian Cardinal. He alluded to JJ or Mahimi coming in a clinching game. But I tell you, Mike, I really think that Rick Carlisle drew upon his experience from 1986 when he won a ring with the Celtics. He had great coaches, he had great teammates, and he was able to tell a story in the locker room about what a team, the extra pass, believing, rotations mean in the totality of what champions are.
Well, and you heard both Carlisle and Nowitzki reference, I'll paraphrase, This is a win for team basketball. That is a message being sent about how this team does it and about how this team was assembled. And we've heard from Donnie Nelson, a great job by our staff in Miami. Look at how they were assembled. Look at how this team is assembled. Marion for Stackhouse's expiring contract, as Stackhouse is retired. Jason Kidd for Devin Harris, a fine young player for a Hall of Fame savant. Chandler for Eric Dampier's expiring contract. Cardinal for nothing. Brewer for nothing. Roddy B for nothing. Barea for nothing. Mahimi for nothing. Deshaun was a throw-in, and Karan for Josh, and Bigwood for Drew Gooden, and Dirk as a 9th overall is an all-time great. That is a team. You talk about deposits. That is a team, that's asset management. I call that asset management because they don't have the first overall pick to use to gain players. They've got to find another way. Not even Dirk was a first-round pick. Not even Dirk was a sure thing. None of them were a sure thing until tonight.
And since 2005, they have been working to maneuver all those pieces around Dirk and Jason Terry to get this thing headed in a championship direction, and that is exactly where they are today. Those are Mavs fans in Miami. A great crowd made their way east for this celebration. We're back with much more. In fact, we'll hear from Mark Cuban right after this.
He'll dribble it to Marion, and Marion's going to dribble it out the clock. And it is. The game is over. The series is over. The Mavericks have scaled the NBA playoff mountain and have planted their flag. They are the NBA champions for 2010, 2011. They win in 6. They beat the Miami Heat 105-95.
The great Chuck Cooperstein, the radio voice of the Dallas Mavericks, wrapping up this day, this historic day for us. The Mavericks winning 105-95. They are your NBA champions. Welcome back to Mavs Live, the NBA Finals Special Edition presented by Citi. Much more with Fish and Nancy coming up in just a moment. But first, we want to get you back live to Miami, where Rick Renner is standing by with an expert panel of his own. Rick, take it away.
That's right. We got Matt Mosley, of course, of FoxSportsSouthwest.com. You pretty much write for everybody. And then Earl K. Snead of Mavs.com. I'll start with you, my man. Just the atmosphere in this place, hearing chants, "Let's go Mavs" at the end of this thing. What do you make out of all this?
It was just 8.5 minutes left, the "Let's go Mavs" chant. It was surreal to hear it. And they took over the place. And the Miami fans finally got together and started their own chant. But you should have seen the mass exodus out of here. You can probably see it on TV. About a minute or 2 minutes left, they just vacated the area. The rest of them, the Miami Heat, fans were just kind of shocked. But it was interesting to see them all sort of check out. And Stevenson said the players basically quit with about 6 or 7 minutes to go. And I think that helped lead to some of those offensive rebounds that pretty much put the game away.
Yeah, you're almost thinking, okay, Dirk shoots 1 of 12 in the first half. Yet the Mavericks have a 2-point lead. Everything's fine because you know he's going to get going in the second half.
Yeah, and he waited till the fourth quarter. He put it off for a while. Jet was sensational. He's redefined his legacy in a way in one postseason. And we talked about what's happened in past three or four postseasons. He was remarkable tonight. And 27 points. I just thought he's been one of the huge stories of the postseason. And they picked up Dirk tonight.
Yeah, you look at Jet Terry. Here's a guy parading around with that trophy. He's enjoying this moment. This is a guy who had a tattoo of the Larry O'Brien trophy on his body, and he said if the Mavericks didn't win, he was going to take it off. I guess he can keep it.
Not only is he going to keep it, but he said in the locker room that
the gag order has been lifted, ladies and gentlemen. The great Mark Cuban.
Except for you, Rick.
Hey, no, come on. Okay, we'll let Earl interview you. Yeah, let's see.
Mark, just talk about this. The first championship in Dallas, obviously. Everything that you've been through, this whole franchise has been through, the city of Dallas has been through, and then getting it done against the Heat, going back to 2006. I know you don't want to think about those memories, but it has to be sweeter getting it done against the Heat.
I don't care who we did it against, right? We could do it again in memory of Nelly, the Pismo Beach Panthers, right? I'm just happy for our guys, everybody who's been part of it. I'm just thrilled to death for Dirk and Jason Terry and Jason Kidd and JJ, the guys who have just fought through all the adversities, the guys who just fought through all the doubters. I mean, you guys were calling us the one-and-done boys, for God's sakes. And just, Team George Karl was saying he wants to play us, I
don't think he feels that way now.
Hey! Out of all your teams that you have had, though, would you have thought this would have been the team that gave you the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling you guys all along, we're a good team. And, talking to Jason Kidd, he was like, look, we've got something special going on here. Dirk, we got something special going on here. And then Dirk gets hurt and Karan gets. We did this without Karan Butler, for God's sakes, But it's a team game. It's a game of commitment. It's a game of confidence, and it's a game of heart. And you can talk about skills and athleticism. A lot of people question that, but there's no questioning the heart of this team, and I think that's what separates us. And I think it's hard from the outside looking in to see the heart. It's hard to see the effort. It's hard to see what people do on a day-to-day basis to make a commitment. You see it, right? And those are things. I mean, one of the things I've learned in working with Donnie to build this team is you got to get rid of the knuckleheads and you got to get rid of the people who don't believe, because chemistry matters and heart matters and commitment matters and trust matters. And we got to the point once we trusted coach and everybody continued to trust each other, then that's what made us special. And here we are.
Everybody knows what a great owner you are. You'll spend whatever it takes to make it happen, to bring a winner. You see all these great Mavs fans out here braving the Miami crowd and all the white everywhere. What does this mean to you personally?
It's great. Let me just tell you, our fans just punked the hell out of the Miami fans. And hey, Doris, we literally punked the hell out of their fans. Who goes to a finals game and the away team is making more noise than the home team? It's crazy. Say what you want about the Miami Heat. They're a great team. And I'll tell you, there was one part where I was scared before the game because some of the people were like, you got to wear black to a funeral. So if you notice, right, did you hear all that? So if you notice, like Brian Damaris is wearing black. Under here I got my blackest shirt. So there's a lot of guys who wore black. And so, you know what, that just shows you the heart and focus. These guys knew in their heart that we were the better team and we were ready to win. One shoot, one cert, one tie. That's exactly what was said in the locker room after we won in Dallas. One shoot, one suit, one shirt, one tie. Wear black because that's what you wear to the funeral.
Now, I got to ask you about J.J. Barea. We talked to him and his high school coach, and you were very instrumental in bringing him to the Mavs. Tell me about, 3-0, by the way, when he was in the starting lineup.
Yeah, he was my guy. We needed a point guard for Summer League, and I'd been watching and paying attention. I'm like, there's this guy up in Northeastern that scoring 20 points and 9 assists, and he can play, right? And so Donnie's like, okay, we'll bring him in. And then his agent was like, oh, no, we're not coming in unless we get $10,000 guaranteed. I'm like, he's undrafted. Just get your ass in here and prove something. And we ended up paying him $10,000. It was probably the best $10K I've ever spent because he got to Summer League, and all of a sudden I was like, damn. And so, I get credit every now and then for a player that I pick up.
What does you think this means to Dirk and Jason Kidd and guys that, you've seen just kind of, a bunch of 30-somethings been in this league for a long time but never really got to get to the prize?
That's what makes it special, and I'm really, really, really happy for them. I'm 21, I got a lot of years left, and, these guys, there is a limit on their careers, and so that's what makes it so special.
Now, is the gag order going to be that way for you from now on? Because it seemed like it worked pretty well in the playoffs.
Only with you, Rick. I got to go.
Congratulations. The great Mark Cuban. All right, let's bring back in the boys here. And sorry about the interruption, but, he is the owner. He's the owner. He's still here. Look, you're still here. Hey. What does this mean for Mark Cuban and kind of his legacy? I know when the playoffs started, Jerry Jones talked about he's an unbelievable owner. He'll do anything to win. He'll pay whatever it takes. And, high praise coming from Jerry Jones.
Well, he changed his whole approach in not talking this postseason, and I think that's huge. Is that why they won? No. That's not why they won, but who knows if it helps with karma, if it helps with some of these officials to stop talking as much. So I think that was a huge move for him, and this is a defining moment for him as well as Jet. So many people's careers have changed. He's been great for this team, but this is what he needed in 2006. Nobody is going to talk about that anymore after what happened tonight.
Earl, you were in the locker room. You got showered. You still got a spot here. You smell really bad, by the way. And I'm glad that Cuban came over despite that. But what was it like in the locker room when you were in there?
A lot of man hugs. Started with Cuban. You saw him come over. He gave me a nice hug. I told him, thank you for letting me be a part of this ride. It's been an awesome ride. But you just talk about a lot of 30-something guys. They celebrate like they're 30-something. There's not a lot of young guys out there going wild. It's a lot of guys saying, hey, we came together, we got our goal done. We came together in September for training camp, so we do it, we got the job done.
Yeah, we got Jason Terry behind us kind of hanging out. We're going to work to him in just a moment as Jet and all the guys are celebrating. What surprised you the most, Matt, about this particular team? Because, you know, it is kind of a bunch of ragtag guys, right? You know, J.J. Barea's too short, Jay Kidd's too old, Stevenson's a throw-in in the Butler trade. This team lost its second-best scorer on New Year's Day, and yet they got here and got it done.
I think just staring down LeBron and Wade, you're two of the greatest players in the NBA, and just looking at them and saying, we're not scared. And after getting down 2-1, they never flinched. And I credit Carlisle a lot for that. You know, I just think he's done a great job motivating this team and keeping them even keel. And they basically took LeBron out of the series. I mean, I looked down at one point tonight, and he was minus 20. I know you're way into these plus-minus things. He was minus 20, and Cardinal, by the way, was plus 16.
Wow.
So it's pretty remarkable to look at some of those numbers. And at one point in the fourth quarter, nobody wanted the ball for them. You got all these stars, and they were playing hot potato out on the perimeter with it. I don't want the ball. I mean, at least Mario Chalmers said, hey, I'll take it in there and try to score. It was one of the most remarkable things you could ever witness tonight.
Yeah, what do you think about all that stuff? I mean, just how this team came together and got it done. I mean, they knew they could do it, and probably nobody else did.
Right, and then they went and backed it up as a team with Dirk Nowitzki starting off 1 for 12 in the first half. Jason Terry had to step up. J.J. Barea had to step up. Jay Kidd stepped up, knocked down some big shots. Deshaun Stevenson knocking down three-pointers. Everyone came together to get the job done against a team that had the big three. They had 3 stars. Tyson Chandler talked about it in the locker room when he wasn't sipping on champagne. He was saying, basically, if you look at our road to get to the championship, we had to go through a Portland team that everyone said was going to beat us in the first round. A Lakers team that had Kobe Bryant defending champions back-to-back years. A OKC team that had the 2 young guns that are supposed to be the team of the future, and then the big 3 to win the championship. They had the hardest road to get to this point, and then they went out and showed that they were a battle-tested team, and they were a team above anything else.
Yeah, and you look at it, kind of a defining moment for both LeBron James and Dirk Nowitzki. Now, you know, Dirk's out of that club, the Charles Barkleys, the Stocktons, the Karl Malones. He won a championship. We know he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, he was a great player anyway for 13 years, but this did something. And I just think he needed to be alone. I was laughing watching him just take off after the game. I'm like, where are you going, man? And he just goes to the locker room, and I guess he just needed some time. And he came back out, but you know, they're always looking for him for that interview after the game, and they never can find him.
Yeah, and that's too bad. But we're going to find him in just a moment. He's Matt Mosley. Check him out at FoxSportsSouthwest.com on 103.3. You're pretty much a media Mongol. You will do it all. Earl K. Sneed of Mavs.com. Let's kick it back to the studios in Dana.
Guys, thank you very much. Great stuff, and love hearing from Mark Cuban there live as well. And, you know, we just heard Earl K. talk about the big 3. Well, what happened to LeBron James in this series? What do you make of what you saw from him?
He's going to go back, and they're going to look at film, and he'll take a little bit of time collectively, individually, and as a team. But I don't really think that Miami could have withstood the fact that he averaged about 27 points a game in the regular season. He averaged 9 less in the finals against the Mavericks. To me, that was very defining because they depended on the big 3 to give them somewhere between 70 and 75 points a game. You take 9 away, now you're asking guys that are supplemental players to deliver on those points. It was a problem. The other side of it for me was the fact that in the finals, they missed 13 foul shots. You cannot win close basketball games, especially in closeout games, if your team is gonna miss 13 foul shots.
You can buy Chris Bosh, and you can buy LeBron James.
There he goes again.
But you can't buy free throws. And tonight they couldn't buy a free throw. I thought we weren't going to bash. Were you just bashing LeBron James?
No, I'm just saying that I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying he needed to step up.
Let history show that the Mavericks took LeBron James away. They took Dwayne Wade away. They really didn't take Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh actually was a pretty consistent performer over the course of this time. But the Mavericks outwilled LeBron James. He wanted no part of the last 5 minutes of the game. He didn't want to shoot. He didn't want to score. He didn't care. Is it okay if I say that, Nancy?
Well,
he didn't care.
I think he cared. I think that the Mavericks took away a lot of his mojo with the different defenses. To me, LeBron James is a guy that doesn't have a lot of true confidence. You know, he's not Kobe. He doesn't have the killer instinct that Kobe did or Michael Jordan did. He wants to win.
Now you're talking, sister. Keep
going.
going.
He doesn't have the killer instinct that those guys have done. You know what? This is only the 5th time in the history of the NBA that a number 3 seed has gone on to win the championship. This is all about the Mavericks. Defense, offense, coaching, and the complete team aspect.
Well, Dwayne Wade, we have seen the killer instinct from him before, but not necessarily with enough of it here in this one. He finishes with 17 points, and we understand had some pretty interesting things to say after this one. Let's take a listen.
Is it shock right now? Is it anger? Is it, I mean, what? Is there any emotion really coursing through you right now, or is it too early for anything to have, really set in at this point?
Well, I mean, no matter what, you're never ready for your season to end. Whether it ends of the, the regular season and in the first round, you're always shocked, especially in the playoffs. When your season comes to an end, you can never predict it. At this point, obviously, if you don't win a championship, no matter if it's Game 6 or Game 7, you're going to be highly disappointed. Obviously, in the midst of losing, we feel it, but, we'll feel it more tomorrow, and the more time we get to think about it and get to think about how close an opportunity we had, it'll burn inside of us as competitors. And at the end of the day, it would drive us to get back in this position again. So, we understand that our goal is to win the championship. We wasn't able to accomplish that in year 1, but this ain't the end of the Miami Heat, so, we would use this as motivation and come back and try to do it again. Jake?
Dwayne, through 4 games, even though it was 2-2, you can make a strong argument that you guys were the better team. I don't think anyone would have been surprised if those other 2 games had turned out victories for you guys. Where or how did the series get away from you?
It got away from us tonight when they won. This series was a close series, the whole way. They was able to put a great run together tonight. We could never get over the hump. Every time we close within 4 or 3, and they just continue to make shots. This series was, could have went either way for a long time until they pulled away tonight. And, like I said, we give them much credit. Their resolve was stronger than ours, in this series. So we learned from that, and, we come back as a better team and try to use some of the experience that we learned in this championship run.
Dwayne, you said a few months after you won your championship that Dirk was the reason the Mavericks lost that series because he wasn't the leader he was supposed to be in the closing moments. Yeah. What do you think of the way he performed in those moments during this series?
I think he's played awesome, man. Obviously Dirk, that 5 years ago it burned in him, and he learned from that experience. And even though he was 1 for 12 in the first half, he came out and made big shots, for his team. He kept being aggressive. He kept shooting. So, it's no question that he's been a great individual player. And now that he's a champion, it goes without saying what that's meant for his career. Congratulations to him.
Well, and there is Dwayne Wade. Very nice comments, respectful after this one, and they should be. Obviously, there was a lot going into this game about Dwayne Wade and essentially teasing, if you will, Dirk Nowitzki and the sinus infection he was fighting. And so it's nice to hear, a nice, respectful loser, if you will.
Well,
after this
his
game.
respectful response comes too late for me. Too late.
An apology on that before would have been nice.
They're kids.
Well, he certainly was acting like one when he was
and
caught
it was
on tape with
ridiculous.
the. Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Coach him up, Coach.
It's not. I agree 100%
Okay.
with you. They are not bad guys.
That's not the issue.
25-year-olds are running the principal's office.
Right.
And
this
you're
isn't
going to
real.
get that.
No, this isn't real villainy. It's just sports villainy. I think most of us understand the difference. But the last time you go through the list of people that have tried to punk Dirk this way, going back to Tim Thomas calling him a name like this, and Dirk drops half 100 on him in a Western Conference Finals game. You go to Matt Barnes saying, we've got the punk 'em blueprint. And the next thing you know, Dirk and the Mavericks sweep the Lakers 4-0. Now you've got these 2 clowns trying to make comedy out of Dirk's illness, not having any understanding of the circumstance. Because the circumstance is Dirk beat them in the game in which he had a fever, and Dirk beat them tonight in their own house. They owe him more than an apology.
You were trying to be logical, and it's not a logical answer. These are young men who were just laughing. They didn't see that there was any harm in what they were doing. If you had to ask them 10 times, they all respect Dirk. I really believe that. But I want to go back to Dwayne Wade's comment. He said, we'll be back better next year. I think they're going to be back next year with Pat Riley as their head coach.
All right, stand by for more on that. Obviously, there will be changes made, additions brought in to help them get back to that point again. But for now, it's all about the Dallas Mavericks. And Jason Terry, who had 27 points tonight, is enjoying that NBA title trophy. We'll hear from the Jet coming up right after this. Welcome back to Mavs Live, the NBA Finals special edition presented by Citi. Hard to believe there was a 10-year stretch when this Mavericks franchise did not make the playoffs at all. Since the turn of the century and Mark Cuban's turn as owner, the Mavericks have had 11 straight seasons with 50 or more wins, advancing to the playoffs every year, including 2 trips to the finals. But getting there has never been the goal and never been enough. This is our time, as the T-shirts said, and they hope that time was tonight. And in fact, it certainly was. Dirk Nowitzki looking for his first NBA title. Jason Terry, of course, a teammate of Dirk's back in 06, the debacle in Miami. LeBron James, much maligned in the postseason. He comes out hot. LBJ hitting the jumper. James hits his first 4 shots, and Miami leads by 4 early on. But Jason Eugene Terry would answer for Dallas. First, Jet hits the 3-pointer, and the Mavs starting to heat up. Then Rick Carlisle goes zone, and Miami turns the ball over. Jet again this time, hitting the tough layup, and Dallas takes a 5-point lead after 1. The second quarter, Maverick run continues, and it was Deshaun Stevenson doing the damage, burying the 3-pointer. What a series he has had from long distance. Then off another Miami turnover, it's Stevenson again. 3-pointer in Dallas on a 17-2 run, taking a 12-point lead. But Dwayne Wade would spark a Miami run. Big block on Tyson Chandler. He'd go in the other way. Wade finds Eddie House, who hits the 3-pointer. 14-0 run, and after the basket, the two teams have a little skirmish at midcourt. Udonis Haslem and Stevenson, along with a host of others. A couple of technicals on Miami, 1 on Dallas, and then everything officially ironed out. But with Dirk hitting one of his first 12, Jason Terry was huge. 19 first half points, Dallas up 2 at the break. Third quarter, Dirk still struggling until he gets the jumper to go. And then Dirk again off the nice feed from Brian Cardinal buries a 3-pointer. There is the custodian finding Dirk out beyond the arc. Mavs up by 6. And then Jason Kidd, also looking for his first NBA title in his 17th year in the NBA. Hits a 3 of his own. Dallas takes a 9-point lead into the fourth quarter. Final 12 minutes, and Miami makes a run. Dwayne Wade gets the hoop +1 on Dirk. It's now 81-75 Dallas. But J.J. Barea had an answer back in Miami, where he went to high school, hitting Dallas's 11th 3-pointer of the game. Then more J.J. driving, hitting the little floater, and the Mavs built a 12-point lead, starting to feel it, starting to taste it. Then it was Dirk time. Dirk struggled the entire game until, when he is so money, the fourth quarter, hits the big jumper. Dallas by 10. Then it was Dirk again, driving, hitting another tough jumper. Dirk with 10 of his 21 in the fourth quarter. That is what he has averaged in the fourth quarter in this series. And then with under 2 minutes to play, Jason Terry back in on the act. Hits the pull-up jumper. Terry with 27 huge points tonight. And then Dirk one more time. Why not? Finishing it off with a drive to the hoop. The bench and Mark Cuban absolutely feeling it. Dirk, as time was running out, leaves the court. Mark Cuban and Rick Carlisle celebrating with a hug. Dirk taking a moment to take it all in. And your Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. David Stern giving the trophy to the first Mavs owner, Donald Carter, and Dirk Nowitzki finally getting to hoist the trophy he's been chasing his entire career. Also named the Finals MVP, the Mavericks winning 105-95, winning the series 4-2. What an incredible run it has been this season. And it's time to get much more reaction coming in for you now. Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, standing by.
Jet, the zone that you were in tonight, did it feel like the Lakers game earlier in the playoffs? To describe going through that with the shooting.
No, it was nothing like the Lakers game, but to be able to get hot in a game of this magnitude, obviously, all the credit goes to my teammates. You know, greatest point guard in the world. He's sitting right next to me, Hall of Famer, understands where to get his teammates the ball in the right situations, to be successful. And I was able to do that early in the game.
Tony?
Hey, Jason. Terry. Like, when you guys are struggling in this series and you still maintain that demeanor of, I mean, it was almost defiant and to the point of cartoonish where you're saying the same things over again, we're going to get it turned around. Was that at all difficult for you to maintain that? And secondly, most series, you're probably the MVP. Clearly Dirk is, but I just want you to comment on, his greatness and in turn, what you were able to do to turn around the series.
My faith first is in God. And then with that comes a confidence, knowing that you can be successful when you play with guys like we have on this team. You look at what Dirk was able to accomplish this postseason. He played like none other. The year he won MVP doesn't even compare to what he did this year in the postseason. All the critics talked about what he couldn't do, where he fell short. But to carry this team the way he's done is just phenomenal. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Jet, you live with the finals failure from 5 years ago for those last 5 years. What does this mean for you personally to finally finish the job, and what does your individual performance mean considering how much you've thought of that Game 6 from 5 years ago over these years?
Well, going in, we never used 05, 06 as a motivating factor. Two totally different teams. I mean, you look at what we did along the way, along our journey, getting past Portland. Nobody said we could. Doing what we did to the Lakers. We just continued to grind it out, believe in each other, and show huge resiliency in every time we stepped on the court. And I thought in this series, there was a time in a situation where there was a turning point. That was in Game 2. Down 15, we all looked at each other, and we continued to believe. And we win that game, and the rest is history.
Jay.
Mr. Kidd, you've been on a few teams for a few years in this league. What set this one apart, enabled it to win a championship?
I think adversity. We got off to a great start. In the beginning of the season, Dirk was playing, if not at an MVP type season, and then we lose Karan and Dirk. And so everybody wrote us off, but ourselves. I think going through that period where we lost 6 in a row and looked at each other and said, we got to find a way because those two aren't coming back anytime soon. And guys stepped up and we turned it around. And I think just going through the journey of those injuries made us a better team because we had to, do a lineup change, and then we do the lineup change during the finals. And we didn't skip a beat. We just kept playing. And, that just shows the character of this team. No matter how old you are, we understood how to play the game, by passing the ball and making sure that we didn't take, shots where 3 or 4 guys are on you. We just made the extra pass, and we didn't care who put the ball in the basket.
Rick, back left. From the end of Game 4 through tonight, it seemed as if you guys offensively figured something out to get quality shots and got in a rhythm that you didn't have earlier in the series. Can you tell us what that was, if either one of you or both?
I think the big thing is understanding the Heat and the way they play defense. They're a big help team, and they overhelp a lot of times, and we just felt, early in the series, we were getting great looks. We just couldn't make a shot. And as the series went on, we felt if we kept moving the ball, we were going to get those same shots, and those shots were going to start to go in for us. And I thought at the end of Game 4 and 5, and then in Game 5, they started, the dam, in a sense, broke. And we felt we were a confident group that now this is the way we're going to play, and we're going to continue to play until we find a way to win.
Jason Kidd was 0 for 2 in the NBA Finals before this night. In his 17th season at 38 years old, he can now add an NBA title to his very impressive resume. And we heard Rick Carlisle say earlier, it jumped right out to me how much he credited Jason Kidd for this season's success. In fact, he said, I've learned so much from these guys, especially Jason Kidd. That's unbelievable to hear, very experienced player, former player and coach like Rick Carlisle say that about one of his players.
That is the mark of someone who has supreme confidence and belief in their players and has a willingness to be open-minded to what that player is seeing on the basketball floor. Think about it. He was the second oldest player, is the second oldest player to Abdul-Jabbar to win a championship, and I think Jason played 1,267 games. He was the active player with the longest streak that did not win a title. Well, that's in the
nice
check.
To say goodbye to that.
Yeah, we're done with that, but Jason Kidd has seen everything. When I went around the league doing interviews 2 years ago, almost to a man, they told me from every young player on the Olympic team wanted to spend time with Jason Kidd, whether it was eating, going to the golf course, playing ping pong. They wanted to be around his aura and his knowledge, and I'm talking some of the great young players in the game today.
Well, on DallasBasketball.com, we call it BBIQ, and he has it at a level that is the most rarefied air. In my discussions with Jason Kidd, and I've had a bunch of them with him this year about the retirement rumors, and I have to re-interview him every month to reconfirm that he's not retiring. He told me the other day, he says, no, I got bills to pay. I got a wife, I got a baby, well, he's also got, and I'll be the first one to say this because I know we're just supposed to be basking in this one. You know what else he's got to do next year? Assuming there is a next year. He's got another championship to contend for.
Yeah, repeat. He'd like 2 now. He's going to get greedy after this one, and he should. He said he's got another couple of years in him with the players he's got on this team to play with. Let's take you back to Miami now. Rick Renner is standing by with the TV voice of the Mavericks, Mark Followell.
All right, thanks, guys. And here with the voice of the Mavs, Mark Followell, and you were in there for the champagne shower, and it's amazing that his hair is intact. How did you survive the celebration?
Well, it was a great special privilege to be in there. I tell you what, there was a lot of togetherness in that locker room, just like there was out on the floor in the game tonight. There'll be some great stories to share from the locker room as the days go by and everything, but it was a happy bunch. Everybody from Mark Cuban on down to every player. It was a special experience to be in there, and what a special experience to be here to see this game tonight.
How did this team do this and get this done? There are a lot of Heat haters across the country that are enjoying this Mavericks victory, but how did they get it done?
Well, they got it done tonight because I thought as I felt it during the game, Rick, and as I look at this box score, tonight defined what this team is all about, and that is that they are the ultimate team. It was indeed the ultimate team victory. Rick Carlisle preached strength in numbers this year, Rick, and I want you to look at this, the guys who contributed tonight. Deshaun Stevenson with 9 big points in the second quarter. Jan Mahimi's hitting a key buzzer beater at the end of the third, having to play 11 minutes tonight because of the foul trouble for Tyson Chandler. Brian Cardinal coming in, hits a 3, was physical, drew a charge, gave hard fouls tonight, and then when you look at the last guy off the bench, of course, Jason Terry, what can you say for his tremendous first half and a couple of key baskets in the fourth quarter. Barea comes through with 15 points. How about that little dude? 5'10", from Puerto Rico, high school here in Miami. It's a long way from the global games that he played in front of 50 people with the Puerto Rican junior national team back at Moody Coliseum. And then Dirk came to life as much as he could in the second half. I mean, to have him go 1 for 12 in the first half and then for that thing to turn around the way it did for Dirk in the second half and get enough. In the second half, he ends up going 8 out of 15 and scores 18 points. And Dwayne Wade did say 4 years ago, it matters what you do in the end. You're remembered for what you do in the end, when he was talking about what Dirk didn't do and some little bit of animosity exchange between the two. Tonight, Dirk, bad first half in the clincher, but what he did in the end mattered.
What about the thought process of the Mavericks, though? You know, nationally, everybody thought this team was going to be out in the first round, and here it is. They just kind of marched along. They swept the Lakers. They won all these games on the road. They did what nobody thought they could do.
Well, because they believed in themselves. That's really what it was all about, is this team believed in itself. They got a great win right after the Game 4 debacle in Portland in Game 5, and I think they really rallied around each other after the Game 4 loss to go on the road in Game 6 in Portland after this team had lost 18 of its 20 road playoff games prior to that, 18 of their last 20, I should say, to go there and win, and for my opinion, the toughest environment I've ever seen in a playoff series other than maybe Golden State in the 1-8 2007 situation. To get those wins, I think that really brought them together. And then, you win the first game on the road against the Lakers and things just take off from there. And it really was just amazing, the confidence that this team developed in itself, in Rick Carlisle, their system, the trust in the teammates, and that's what this thing was all about, Rick. It really was.
You remember 2006 and the disappointment there. I mean, Jason Terry talked about he and Darrell Armstrong, how they were crying in each other's arms after losing that series and being up 2-0 and watching the Miami Heat win that in Dallas in front of those great Mavericks fans. And then to win it on this court with so many Mavericks fans behind us who made it into the building with their blue shirts. Is it sweet justice?
You know what? It's so sweet, and those guys will be able to hug each other and cry in each other's arms again tonight. Except it's going to be tears of joy. It's going to be a lot different deal, but it is sweet justice. For it to vanquish every playoff demon that the Mavericks were able to. I mean, the exorcism of their closet was complete with what happened in this entire playoff run, capped by winning the trophy in Miami after Miami won it in Dallas 5 long years ago.
First championship in Dallas since the 1999 Stars, first by a team that is in the American Airlines Center. Remember, Stars did it back in reunion. The great Mark Followell, the voice of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm Rick Renner. Back to you guys.
Rick, Mark, thank you both very much. When we come back here on the post-game show, we'll head back to the big party in downtown Dallas. Also have some details about the championship parade to pass along to you right after this.
Mavericks Live NBA Finals Special Edition is brought to you by Citi. What's your story? Citi can help you write it. Learn more at storycity.com.
There is a title back in Texas. The Dallas Mavericks, the latest to bring a pro championship home to Big D. In fact, it's the first time since the 1999 Stanley Cup winning Dallas Stars since this town has had a championship. Of course, we all enjoyed the Rangers' run to the World Series last year. They were oh so close. The Dallas Mavericks were able to get over the hump and win it here tonight. Game 6 was a victory, 105-95. So much to cheer about in this town these days, and many of those sports fans were at the American Airlines Center tonight. That is where our Emily Jones was, along with Allie D and Roe Parrish.
Dana, thank you very much. Here with Roe and Allie D, two of the happiest Mavs fans alive right now. You guys have been at every home game. Have you ever seen this place this loud?
No, I mean, for the game to not even be here, it's kind of surreal how loud this place was. The fans, these are the best fans in the entire world. 16,000 screaming fans all game long. We're so excited to be here.
Roe, just talk about how these fans have gotten behind this team, and especially tonight, selling out this place when there's not even a game here.
It is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe how crazy all our Mavs fans are. Mavs fans for life. NBA Finals champions, baby.
Just talk about what this does for this franchise, Allie. They were so close in 2006. They finished the deal in Miami this time.
This does, of course, just bring the fans and the together of Dallas. I mean, we've been wanting this for so long. It's our first NBA Finals win, and it does everything for this team. I can't wait to be back here next year.
I know, and then talk about finally, Roe, what's this scene going to be like when this team comes back home?
All I'm going to say is like someone used to say, get your popcorn ready, because it's going to be a party nonstop Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a whole week. The whole year. That's how we're going to do.
It is going to be quite a scene. It was quite the scene here tonight, guys. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much. And yes, you can party all week long. In fact, you can do so into next week as well, because we understand the city of Dallas is not planning the parade until the week of June 20th. So not this week at all. They want to wait for the team to get back in town to solidify a date with them. A parade route is also not on the books just yet, though they hope to have that announced within the next couple of days. So guys, we got to sit around all week. I guess we can welcome the team back in, I'm sure, and then we'll have plenty of time to get ready for the parade.
It probably should be mentioned that the idea in 2006 that the then mayor and her staff pre-planned a parade and that was jinxy, that's not right. That's what every city does when they're in the position the Mavs were then. But I don't doubt that the reason we're going to wait a week before the planning really gets going, before the planning gets announced, is because just in case. They took some heat, and they don't want to take that same kind of heat, no pun intended, this time around. Can we tip our hat one more time to Rick Carlisle for something that Coach Lieberman said earlier today and we discussed earlier today? At training camp this year, he said, I don't care about role definition, and I don't want my players to care about role definition. You just worry about role acceptance. And he said, be ready. And he kept saying it, be ready. And you heard the players say, he says, be ready. That's why Brian Cardinal can step into a three whenever he wants to. He was told it was okay, be ready. That's how D. Steve can step into 3 threes whenever he wants to. He was told be ready. If the little guys are allowed the freedom to be great, then that makes the big guys more supportive, more supported as they are great.
Well, when you know you're valued, it means to everything. It's not just for basketball players, but for people in business, for family. The other thing, as we go down the Rick Carlisle, you did everything right. I was there early in training camp, and he gave the shout out to Tim Gergerich. This is a guy who worked shoulder to shoulder with Denver's coach George Karl. The fact that the Mavericks got him this year, he was the guy that helped change that whole defensive scheme. The trust, the belief that Dwayne Casey and Terry Stotts and Rick Carlisle and the whole staff had in Gergs. This guy is an absolute genius, and it was genius for the Dallas Mavericks to bring him in to be a part of their staff, and that just shows a willingness to, we all want to get better. We're willing to do it. Everybody's willing to share the credit, and for Rick to give him that shout out at the podium speaks volumes of this organization and who Rick is.
He did the same thing for the sports psych coach, Coach K. It really was for Dirk and for Carlisle. It was like an Oscar acceptance speech where they wanted to make sure they thanked everybody. It was really neat.
Well, Eddie Sefko has also been there with this team since training camp. Eddie Sefko covers this team regularly for the Dallas Morning News, and he's standing by in Miami with Rick Renner.
Thanks, Dana. Here with Eddie, and just get your initial thoughts about this. I mean, you've been around this team for a long time. What is this night like?
How in the world back in mid-January when this team was losing 7 of 9 or 9 of 11, you'd have told me then that this was the best team in the NBA? Not a chance in the world I'd have believed it.
Yeah, you look at it, you lose the number 2 scorer, Caron Butler. You're wondering where you're going to get that number 2 guy. Dirk has the knee injury. Everybody thinks this team's going to get bounced in the first round. Never happened.
It was good. I thought Cuban made a good point there on the victory celebration podium where he said everybody was calling them the one-and-done boys and all of that stuff. And you know what? This is a good example of what can happen and why you play the games. We saw it with the Rangers back when they got hot and made their run all the way to the World Series. This team did it, and nobody gave them a shot. Let's face it. Anybody who says they had them winning this thing in June is either an idiot or a liar. So you got to give them a ton of credit. They got a bunch of guys who toughed it out, and they got heart and they got guts.
Where do you think this thing turned for them, just having that confidence that they could do this? Because they were in trouble in that Portland series.
Well, first of all, they had to get past that 4th game in Portland when they dropped a big lead at 23 points. So that once they got through that and came back the next game and got the big win in Game 5, won that series, I think that helped. But I really think it was Game 1 in the LA series. When they came back and got that win, then I think they started really to believe, hey, we got something special here now. If we just keep rolling and keep doing what we're doing and don't look ahead. That's where teams get in trouble. Is they start looking ahead and saying, hey, we're on the verge of something good here. You just got to worry about the next quarter, the next half, the next game.
Defining moment for Dirk.
Defining moment from Dirk. I thought it was his shot late in this game where he gave it the fist and he just held it there. He just held it there, and you could tell he said, I think we got this thing.
Because here's a guy, we know he's going to the Hall of Fame, but you want to get out of that club of the Charles Barkleys, the John Stocktons, the Karl Malones. You got to get a title, and he's got his title now.
Yeah, and by the way, there's a lot of members of that club who were terrific players, and a lot of those guys that didn't win titles, it's not because they weren't great players. They just didn't have enough help. This year, Dirk had help. I mean, look at the first half he had. 1 of 12. I mean, he was, he was terrible from the field, and yet they had a lead at the half. So, clearly he had a lot of help on this team and timely help.
When you look at the guys on this team, and Donnie Nelson was on earlier in the show, and he talked about how just a bunch of cast-offs. I mean, look at this. We got Jay Kidd, too old. J.J. Barea, too short. You know, guys like Stevenson who were throw-ins and trades. Jan Mahimi tonight. How do you get these guys to believe that probably didn't even know what he was doing getting out there on the court?
Yeah. I think there's a little bit to that. But you got to remember, Tyson Chandler was a number 2 pick overall. I mean, Jason Kidd was a number. I mean, there's a lot of players in this team that have some pretty high credentials, even though maybe they had some rough spots in their careers. So you go through the tough patches and you move on, and you just never know what year it's going to all come together and be, something magical, which is what this was.
Well, a very interesting series for you with all these late starts. You able to get some rest now? You're going to go on the beach and celebrate a little bit?
On about 2 weeks after the draft and the parades and whatever else goes on now. I mean, it never ends.
The best part is we can actually plan the parade now.
I'm sure somebody already has.
That's Eddie Sefko. Check him out at DallasNews.com or SportsDayDFW.com. Back to you, Dana.
Thank you both very much. And I love that he brings up Tyson Chandler because we need to give him a little shout out as well. A former number 2 pick who was traded 4 times in his career ends up here in Dallas, and for a lot of the season was talked about as the missing link, that defensive center that this franchise has not had in quite some time. Also, Sean Marion deserves a whole lot of credit. Been in this league for a long time, an all-star who was able to take on whatever role he was asked to do, and he finally gets his first ring as well. Those are big moments for those players.
Well, it's big moments, but I think you hit on something very big with Tyson Chandler. I can remember talking to Doc Rivers. He said, we were a good defensive team. When we got Kevin Garnett, we became a great defensive team because he was able to erase a lot of our mistakes, and our perimeter guys could always play hard without the worry of being beat. Well, that's exactly what Tyson Chandler did for this basketball team. He allowed those guys to just play with heart and soul and aggression on the perimeter. And if you get beat, you get beat. You have somebody who erases some of your errors.
And the group of people that backed up Dirk Nowitzki when he made his response to Mr. Ignorant and Mr. Childish, and then apparently told his teammates, don't say anything, don't bother, let's just go play. Dirk Nowitzki didn't have the greatest first half and didn't have the greatest game of his career, but in terms of the way he was backed up by his guys, that's a defining moment.
Yeah, defining moment certainly for Dirk Nowitzki, who finally gets to celebrate reaching the ultimate goal. He wasn't worried about individual accolades, though in this one he is named the Finals MVP as the Dallas Mavericks are named the NBA champions, the best in the world. So congratulations to the Mavericks. It's been a blast following them all season long, from start to the bitter end indeed. Guys, thank you very much. Nancy and Fish, it's been a pleasure. Thanks to the entire crew out in Miami. Once again, congratulations to the Dallas Mavericks, and thanks to you for watching. Be sure to join us again for championship parade coverage coming your way next week.